Hi students, welcome to yet another session of my class. We are discussing the third chapter of this paper, Writings on Contemporary Issues. Yes, discussing our third chapter, What Secularism Is and Is Not by Romila Thapar. In the last class, we discussed about the term secularism. Yes, I think all of you have a definite idea about the term secularism. It is not the denial of religion, but a definite demarcation or separation from religion. That means a definite or um, distinct or a definite separation between religious belief and the working of religious institutions and governmental or other societal organizations. Let us discuss in detail what secularism and is not. What is this chapter about? By Romila Thapar. What secularism is and is not? Yes, when the term was first used in 1851, secular had only one basic meaning. Yes, in the last class we discussed about the meaning of three terms: secular, secularism, and secularizing. I think all of you have a definite idea about this concept. So this particular term was first used in 1851. Please note that here it is important for 1 mark question. So when the term was first used in 1851, secular had only one basic meaning. Yes, this particular term had only one basic meaning when it was first used in 1851. What was that meaning? It described laws relating to morals and social values as having been created by human society in order to ensure the well-being and harmonious functioning of the society. Yes. So, on the very basic level, that is the fundamental meaning of this particular term when it was used in 1851 was, yes, laws relating to morals and social values. That is it described laws relating to what? Morals and social values. So, laws related to morals or moral laws and social values as having been created by human society. Yes, these laws were created for what? Created for the betterment of the well-being of the society. And these laws were created by human society. So the laws relating to morals and social values as having been created by whom? Created by human society. These moral laws or social values were created by human society for what? In order to ensure the well-being or the betterment of the society and harmonious functioning of the whole society. So this is the basic meaning when it was first used in 1851. These laws were neither the creation of divine authority nor did they require the sanction of divine authority. So these laws, these social laws or the moral laws, these laws were neither the creation of divine authority. Yes, these laws were neither the creation or these laws were not created by any religious authority or divine authority, nor did they require the sanction of divine authority. It had no relationship with any divine authority or any religious sanction of any divine authority or any uh, relationship with any type of religious belief or religious organization or something. That means these laws are completely free from any type of religious beliefs or religious faith. These laws were neither the creation of divine authority nor did they require the sanction of divine authority. Authority lay in working out through reasoning and sensitivity what was best for society in keeping with the generally accepted values of tolerance and social responsibility by those who constituted that society. But there was an authority working within this framework. Authority lay in working out through reasoning and sensitivity. Yes, that authority was working out through reasoning, that is our thinking ability or the reasoning and sensitivity, what was best for society, and it was purely for the betterment or the well-being of the society, in keeping with the generally accepted values of tolerance and social responsibility. And these laws includes accepted values of tolerance and social responsibility by those who constituted that society. So these, on the basic level, these laws are related with the morals and social values, and it has been, or these laws were created by human society to ensure the well-being or the betterment of the whole society, or for the harmonious functioning of the society. And these laws are purely separated from all type of religious belief or religious organizations, or were neither the creation of divine authority or nor they require the sanction of divine authorities, etc. And authority is working within this framework through reasoning and sensitivity, and it is this the authority, they were working through reasoning and sensitivity, and what was best for society, in keeping with the generally what are the values they uphold, that is accepted values of tolerance and social responsibility by those who constituted that society. Authority was exercised through laws. Here, that authority was exercised only through laws, not through any divine authority, or not through any divine faith or a religious belief or something like that. Social values therefore grew out of rational thinking. So these moral values or social values, they grew out of rational thinking, logical thinking, or debate and discussion. This was needed to establish a moral code agreed to by the entire society, and was not linked to any particular religion, caste, or class. So all these laws and social values and moral values grew out of rational thinking, debate and discussion, and this was needed to, it is important to establish a moral code agreed to by the entire society, for the betterment of the entire society, or for the harmonious function of the entire society, or well-being of the entire society, and was not linked to, and these codes are not linked to any particular religion, caste, or class. That is the basic meaning that we have given to this particular term secularism, or this particular term had acquired this basic meaning when it was first used in 1851. That means completely free from any type of religious belief or faith, or under the control of any particular religious class, religious organization, or class or caste system. It is purely created by human society for the well-being and the harmonious functioning of the whole society. And the laws were purely moral and social values. It has no divine control or any sanction, require any sanction from divine authority or something like that. That is, it did not link to any particular religion, caste, or class. Then, what this means is that the laws and social values that govern the society should be observed as laws in themselves, and not because they carry any divine sanction. So, from the above definition, we can understand that what this means is that the laws and social values that govern the society, yes, all these laws or the moral codes or the social codes, it is for the betterment or well-being of the society, so it should be observed that these moral codes and social values that govern the society, and it should be observed as laws in themselves. It should be observed as laws in themselves, and not because they carry any divine sanctions. Yes, these laws did not carry any type of religious sanctity or divine sanctity or something like that. They have their own authority. These laws, they have their own authority, distinct or separate from religion or caste or whatever. Yes. Religion involving belief and faith in a deity and in an afterlife continue to exist. Religious beliefs is entirely different from these moral or social codes. That means here Romila Thapar in this chapter, she is trying to emphasize that separation, that demarcation. There is a clear line or a demarcation existing between these two. So they have their own authority. These laws have their own authority that is distinct from, clearly separate from religion or caste or whatever. Religion involving belief. We all know that all religions have their own belief, faith, etc. So religion involving belief and faith in a deity. Yes, according to their caste or religion, they have their own faith, belief, then their deities, etc. So religion involving belief and faith in a deity and in an afterlife continued to exist. That is the belief that is purely associated with a particular religion. However, the civil laws were sanctioned and upheld by secular authority and did not require the sanction of any religion. However, the civil laws were sanctioned and upheld by secular authority, not by any religious authority. Secular civil laws and other moral or social laws were sanctioned or put forward and upheld by secular authority and did not require the sanction of any type of religion or class or caste or something like that. So secularism therefore is not what it is sometimes said to be. So we can say that secularism therefore is not what it is sometimes said to be, a denial of religion. Sometimes it is misinterpreted as denial of religion in some context, or someone may be described it as or considered this term secular as denial of religion, but it is not what it is sometimes said to be, that is a denial of religion, but a curtailment of the control. Curtailment in the sense means reducing or restricting. Curtailment of the control that religious organizations have over social function. Yes. So, according to Romila Thapa, the secularism it is not what it sometimes said to be. It is not the denial of religion. It is a curtailment of the control. Curtailment or reducing or restricting the control. Curtailment of the control that religious organizations have over social functioning. Yes, that reducing the control of these religious organization over governmental and other social organizations or social functioning. And I would underline this definition repeatedly. That is, Romila Thapar emphasizes or repeatedly underline this definition. That is, it is not the denial of religion, but a curtailment or a definite demarcation or separation or reducing the control of these religious organizations over governmental or other social functioning. Yes, let us continue. This theory, after it came to be widely discussed, had various consequences. This particular concept, this theory, after it came to be widely discussed, that is, secularism is not the denial of religion, it is a curtailment of the control that religious organizations over social functioning. And after that, yes, there is a widely this theory, after it came to be widely discussed, this particular concept was widely discussed by people and had various consequences. One was that it allowed people the freedom to think beyond what was told to them as being religiously correct. Yes, we all have religions and we all have religious faith, etc. And one was that it allowed people, so this theory allowed people to think freely. So they got enough freedom to think beyond what was told to them as being religiously correct. We all have religious faith, religious notion, and sometimes we blindly followed some religious concepts, religious belief, faith, etc. And sometimes we think that this is religiously correct and this is wrong. So, according to this theory, that is secularism, it is not denial of religion, and it is something that clearly separate from the control of religious organization. So, after that, people began to think freely. It allowed people the freedom to think beyond what was told to them, beyond what was told to them as being religiously correct. Yes. Again, this did not mean throwing religion overboard, but disentangling the cords of social behavior from religious control. Yes, this doesn't mean, again, this did not mean throwing religion overboard. Yes, it did not mean that throwing is a denial of religion or throwing away religion. No, this did not mean like that. But again, this did not mean throwing religion overboard, but disentangling. Disentangling means to separate things that have become joined or confused. That is to separate things that have become joined or confused. So, uh, this theory allowed people to think beyond what was told to them as religiously correct. That doesn't mean that religion is not true or throwing away religion, etc. No. But disentangling, that is separate, to separate things that have joined or confused, to disentangling the cords of social behavior, the cords of social and moral values or moral behavior from religious control. That is the only meaning of this uh, theory. It doesn't mean that it is a denial of religion or throwing away a religion overboard. No, it is a definite separation from religious control. But disentangling the cords of these, that is the definite separation of these moral or social cords from religious control. This did not make people immoral, as some had feared at that time, since the threat of punishment for breaking laws was enforced and punishment came immediately in this life. So, this theory allowed people to think beyond. So, this did not make people immoral. That freedom of thinking about this theory or this freedom did not make people immoral as some had feared at that time. Yes, many people they had feared that this freedom of freedom to think beyond this religious belief may result various consequences. But here the author emphasized that, or she emphasized that this did not make people immoral as some had feared at that time, because the threat of punishment for breaking laws was enforced. Those who violate this social or moral code should be punished immediately. So the threat of punishment for breaking laws was enforced and punishment came immediately in this life. So people, they were afraid of breaking these social and moral laws. So this freedom of thinking or that this theory allowed people to think beyond this religious belief. It did not make people immoral because the threat of punishment for breaking laws was enforced. Those who violate social or moral codes should be punished immediately. We all know that we all are subjects. We all are subjects to follow the social and the moral codes that is existing in our society. The best example is traffic light. When we travel through the road, yes, here and there are some traffic lights and we are supposed to follow those rules like that, and we should be punished when we violate those traffic rules. So such rules here, yes, this freedom or this theory, this did not make people immoral, as the threat of punishment for breaking laws was enforced and punishment came immediately in this life. It was not postponed to the next life as in most religious codes. As according to some religious belief, there is a saying that the punishment for this wrongdoing will get in the next life or something like that. So here in this platform, we can say that it was not postponed, that punishment or the punishment for violating the laws, that was not postponed to the next life as in most religious courts. Punishment came immediately in this life. So it made people think about the purpose of their laws, and such thinking is always extremely useful. As a result of this, people may think about the purpose of these laws, these social and moral laws, and such thinking is always extremely useful. The observance of the law is strengthened when people understand its purpose. The observance of the law is strengthened here with that free thinking. Here the observance of the law is strengthened. People try to understand the purpose of these moral and social codes when people understand its purpose. Yes, the observance of the law is strengthened when people understand. That is, people try to understand what is the relevance or why they try to understand the purpose and the importance of following these social and moral codes existing in the society. Having to reason things out meant that people had to learn to think independently. Yes, having to reason things out. It meant that, or it means that people had to learn to think independently. They tried to think independently without the control of any type of faith or belief or organization or something like that. That is, people began to think freely and independently. They tried to understand things rationally. Having to reason things out meant that people had to learn to think independently. The thinking came from their education. This thinking, that rational thinking or logical thinking, that came from their education. Here too, the explanation of everything being part of a divine plan and requiring divine sanction was not always the answer to simple questions. We should understand that. This is because of that fate, or it is a part of divine plan. Sometimes we may answer like that. Here too, the explanation of everything being part of a divine plan and requiring divine sanction was not always the answer to simple questions. First of all, we should think rationally, logically, try to understand the things rationally. So, and don't think like that everything is being a part of divine plan, or it is a part of uh, fate, or it requiring any divine sanction or something like that was not always the answer to simple questions. Don't think like that. Think rationally and logically. Try to understand the exact cause or the things behind these simple questions. Don't blame everything on the basis of fate, divinity, or divine, or something like that. Therefore, education began to involve searching for explanations other than those based on faith and religion. Thus, education began to involve searching for explanations other than those based on faith and religion, or possibly even honing. Honing means sharpen. sharpen these explanations if there was evidence to do so. So, education plays a major role. Education began to involve searching for the explanations of these type of questions other than those based on faith and religion. And sometimes it sharpened or it expressed these explanations with the help of solid evidences also. But preferably, social laws began to be drawn from rational inquiry into both the natural and the human world in which we live. And moreover, our author, she emphasizes that preferable social laws or these moral or social laws began to be drawn from rational inquiry. That is, should be from our logical exploration or rational exploration or from rational inquiry into both the natural and the human world in which we live. Answer to all these questions should be collected from our nature, from our natural world or from our human world in which we live in. And occasionally there might even have been a small leap of imagination ultimately to be explained by reason. Occasionally there might even have been a small leap of imagination in that rational thinking to be explained by reason. So the explanations for the laws and a discussion of these became an essential part of education. So the explanations for these laws, that is the social, moral and other civil laws that is existing in the society, and a discussion of these became an essential part of education and of thinking about the implications of being secularized. And we should think that, and of thinking about the implications of being secularized. Everything should be secularized, that is completely free from any type of religious or divine belief, authority or control. It should be secularized. Everything should be secularized. That is the thing that she is here emphasized in this particular chapter. I think all of you understand this much. And there is a homework for you, dear students. Please note down the questions. Homework questions are: when was the term secular first used? Do civil laws require the sanction of any religion? And the third question: what were the implications of the term secular when it was first used? And the fourth question: in a society, how should laws and social rules be observed? All of you, dear students, please note down these questions and write your answers. Then take an image of it and send back to me through WhatsApp. Thank you. Have a nice day. See you again.